Hello everyone, I am Melissa. Just a little bit about me. I worked for a federal law program that was called No Child Left Behind Act. It's an extraordinary program. It was with George W. Bush. He signed the act in 2002, and I began working for them in 2003 at an elementary school, which I really enjoyed it. I worked with the third, fourth, and fifth graders, which was very interesting. The bill was signed because they needed assistance in some of the economically deprived areas for poor children. So they really needed some assistance there, and so they dropped in money, monetary money and funds to help get assistance for people to come in there and work. During that time, I was in my undergraduate studies, stopping and going back to school. I decided that, let me go over here in my community and work for this school and help those fourth, fifth, and sixth graders. Or I should say third, fourth, and fifth. Let me look at that again. Third, fourth, and fifth graders. It was really an interesting experience when you're working with elementary children, because the elementary children were just not hurt feelings, but because they could do something better than the other, kind of laugh and joke at the other kids that couldn't pronounce words or, sound out the words, or just couldn't read in general. So it became, for me, a prevalent situation, but I enjoyed every bit of it, and I enjoyed seeing the enjoyment in the children's eyes. We first began in the back of a classroom, which did not work out too well. Because the kids that were in the back of the room were being laughed at, talked about, because they couldn't read and do certain things that other students could do. So we finally convinced them to put the third, fourth, and fifth graders in one room, and we divided up between three people was the plan, but it was only two of us. But it still worked out. It worked out perfectly, and that's just a little bit of a synopsis about myself. Although I transferred from the No Child Left Behind to what they call ABE, ABE, which is Adult Basic Education. And then I turned to ESL, English as a Second Language. And then I also turned to working with refugees, which I never thought that would be my thing. But yeah, working with refugees, and I enjoyed every bit of it. I spent a little time because I really wanted to know who was Vygotsky. Who was he? Well, I found out that he was a Russian psychologist. He developed a social cultural theory of development and social interaction plays in a critical world, and learning the development. His development was of children, which I thought was very, very fascinating. Now, Vygotsky's zone of proximal development aimed to expand learning potential as to what learners do with help collaborating, and without help their own. It's like, what do they already know? Do they have the potential to develop on their own, to get better circumstances and things like that? Vygotsky's role in intersubjecting and group work within the zone of a proximal development, adults and learners, they're like information, and each student has the same knowledge right there in front of them, but they all perceive everything so differently, and I thought that was amazing. But they could still work together and with one another to find out that and solve that puzzle. Now, scaffolding assists with group learning. It is only a temporary social support to help children accomplish their academic levels, and older adults they can learn new tasks, things that weren't already introduced to them, like say maybe algebra, something like that. Internalization plays a major role in the group learning process. Internalization, is something that is obtained gradually. It just doesn't happen overnight. But the more you have a cognitive understanding, the more that the learner is able to process that information and become part of the development. And I thought that was very interesting. I look at all my challenges in all the levels of the different schools that I have taught in, not even taught, volunteered for, that I have my certificates and everything for. And each one is so different. Each one is so different. Like ESL. I use this a lot in ESL. A lot. Because I wanted to show them a color in English, and then I wanted to see theirs in Spanish, because I learned as they learned, because I wasn't Spanish speaking at all. And we talked about adult basic learning education, and we talked about ESL, and this is my training certificate for that course. And then this is the course. So these are all going to be part of my vision board. And this is what I was doing last year, the American citizenship. So this all plays a role in scaffolding, I think, is unique for me. And I love the way that the internalization process is done. But I love the scaffolding, and I love the internalization. Because when we're taught, when a learner's taught by an educator, instructor, or teacher, there's nothing like that added on help, that little additional help. Well, I'm going to get off of here now. I know we all meet tonight, and I hope you guys enjoyed a little bit about me, knowing a little bit about me, and learning that every educator or every educational world that I've been in, from elementary to adults to different languages to refugees, it's all different talk process, and I use different tools for each of them. But it's rewarding and it's gratifying, especially when an 80-year-old woman came to me and cried because she had learned how to do fractions, and I taught her in baby steps. But it was needed. She raised her children. Okay, she raised her siblings, then her children, then her grandchildren, then her great-grandchildren. And now she says they have to make the popcorn, and she'll read a book. Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you for listening.